Number 12. The banana murder alarm. You ever looked at a banana and felt off? Like something in your brain whispered, danger. Well, congrats. That's your amygdala misfiring again. Let me explain. Some people feel a wave of anxiety or disgust when they see clusters of dots, small holes, or bumpy patterns, like those tiny brown specks on bananas. This isn't because bananas are evil. Probably. It's because your brain still thinks it's living in the wild, and it's mistaking that harmless fruit for mold, parasites, or a flesh-eating fungus from prehistoric nightmares. Welcome to trypophobia, a totally irrational fear of seemingly harmless textures. It's not officially classified as a real phobia in medical books, but your nervous system doesn't read the DSM-5. It just freaks out like it's spotting a diseased corpse from 10,000 BC. So while the rest of you is just trying to enjoy a snack, your brain's primal defense squad is already halfway through screaming infection alert and imagining worms. Basically, the next time someone peels a banana and you get a chill down your spine, don't worry. Your brain's just being a weird little drama queen trying to protect you from a fruit. Number 11. Harmless faces in the dark. You walk into a room at night, flick on the light, and there it is. A shape, a figure, a face. Your heart jolts, adrenaline floods your veins, and then it's a hoodie on a chair. Congratulations. You just experienced pareidolia, your brain's relentless obsession with finding faces Eve, especially when it's dark and you're already jumpy. This is actually one of your brain's most useful glitches. Seeing faces is crucial to social survival. It helped early humans figure out who was friend, who was foe, and who was about to throw a rock at their head. But the system errs on the side of, let's see a face even if there isn't one. Clouds, electrical outlets, burn marks on toast. Your brain's like, oh look, it's Steve. And in the dark, it's even worse. Your mind is low on information, so it just fills in the blanks with probably a murderer wearing a hoodie. It's not rational. It's not helpful. But it's very efficient at ruining your peaceful night and making you avoid eye contact with your laundry pile. Basically, your brain is a paranoid face-detecting machine, and it doesn't even need real faces to do its job, just vague shadows and bad lighting. Number 10. Mannequins and mannequin-like mistakes. You're walking through a store. It's silent, weirdly quiet, and then you see it. A figure in the corner. Too still, too stiff. You flinch, your heart skips, and, oh, it's just a mannequin. Again. But your brain doesn't care that it's made of plastic and bad fashion decisions. It already decided it might be a threat. Why? Welcome back to the Uncanny Valley, Part 2, Retail Edition. Mannequins mess with your head because they live in that same creepy gray zone between alive and not quite. They're humanoid. They stand. Sometimes they stare. But they don't move. And your brain hates that. In the wild, if something looked human and didn't move, it was probably dead or infected. Or worse, pretending. So your nervous system assumes the worst. This faceless Gap employee is either cursed, waiting to jump scare you, or both. Even worse. Some stores intentionally design mannequins with just enough humanity to trigger attention. Because your brain is hardwired to notice faces. Even fake ones. Even super weird, eyeless ones made of fiberglass. So yeah, your jump reaction? Completely normal. Also, a solid reason to never go shopping alone at night. Number 9. Why do dolls feel evil? They're supposed to be cute, harmless, childhood comfort objects. And yet, some dolls, especially the ones with wide glass eyes that never blink, feel like they've killed before. Maybe in a past life. Or maybe during that one birthday party where the lights flickered. This is all thanks to something called the Uncanny Valley, the psychological space where things look almost human, but not quite. It creeps your brain out because it can't decide if what you're seeing is alive, dead, or plotting to harvest your soul. Back in caveman days, being able to tell the difference between a live friend and dead diseased body was kind of a big deal. So when something looks like it might be human but also might be a problem, like a creepy porcelain doll, your brain flips the emergency switch just to be safe. Animatronics? Creepy. Wax figures? Horrifying. A 1920s doll sitting alone in a rocking chair? Run. Your brain doesn't want to take any chances. It assumes everything in the Uncanny Valley is a walking curse. And honestly, it's not wrong. Number 8. Statues that look too alive. You're walking through a museum, admiring the art. When you pass a statue, and your brain suddenly whispers, "It moved." No, it didn't. But also, what if it did? Statues, especially realistic ones, hit your brain like a psychological landmine. They look human. They pose like humans, but they're not breathing, blinking, or doing literally anything. And that ambiguity? It sets off your brain's ancient creep detector like a fire alarm in a fireworks factory. Why? Because again, you're in the uncanny valley, population, stone people. Your brain wants to categorize everything into two boxes, alive or not alive. But statues? Statues live in the middle, and your brain hates the middle. In survival terms, freezing is what prey does when trying not to die. So your subconscious sees stillness and thinks, danger, predator, run now. And if the statue has eyes that follow you around the room, that's not just artistry, that's psychological warfare. Fun fact, the more lifelike the statue, the creepier it becomes. Especially if it's of a historical figure you know is dead. Somehow your brain adds corpse to the uncanny cocktail, and suddenly you're standing in a very fancy room filled with silent, marble zombies. Basically, museums are beautiful, until you realize they're also full of nightmare mannequins that your brain refuses to trust. Number 7. Mirrors at 3 a.m. Ah yes, mirrors. Totally ordinary household objects, until it's dark. Then suddenly, they become nightmare portals that whisper, "What if something else looks back?" This one's part psychology, part folklore, part your brain being a little too creative at night. See, when you stare into a mirror in low light, your brain starts trying to fill in gaps in your vision. It's called the Troxler effect. Your brain literally fades out parts of your reflection when it gets bored or confused. And that's when the creepy kicks in. Your face changes slightly. Shadows shift. You think you saw someone standing behind you, even though you're alone. It's not ghosts. It's just your visual system melting down under pressure. Of course, human culture didn't know that for centuries. So instead, we got bloody legends, haunted mirror stories, and the classic, say a name 3 times and suffer. Because mirrors don't just reflect light, they reflect weirdness. And your brain is a full-on drama machine after midnight. So when you avoid looking in the mirror while brushing your teeth at 3 a.m., that's not you being silly. That's your primitive brain keeping you alive from whatever might be watching on the other side. Number 6. Fear of the deep. Bathroom. Let's talk about bathtubs. Or rather, the irrational feeling that something is lurking under the water, even when you can see that it's crystal clear and there's no way a shark snuck in through the pipes. This is a real phenomenon known as thalassophobia, the fear of deep or open water. But for many people, it extends to anything that feels deep, dark, and mysterious, even a pool drain, even the black abyss of a hotel hot tub at night, even your own bathroom. Your brain sees an undefined underwater space and immediately fills it with whatever nightmare fish lives in your personal horror archive. Maybe a tentacle, maybe the girl from The Ring, maybe both. The logic centers in your brain are like, come on, we live in a city, in a house, with plumbing. But your ancient survival brain? That part still thinks you're paddling across a crocodile-infested river. So it sends out a panic ping just in case. This is the same brain that once had to worry about sea monsters, or at least giant leeches. So even though you know intellectually that nothing's coming up from the bathtub drain, you still won't dangle your foot over it without a tiny dose of existential dread. Basically, your brain doesn't care where you are. If it thinks you're near the edge of the void, it panics like you're about to be eaten by Poseidon himself. Number 5. You're being watched by nothing. You're home alone. Everything's quiet. But suddenly, your neck prickles. You feel eyes on you. You whip around, and nothing. Just your laundry pile judging you silently from the chair. Again, this is your brain's supernatural settings mode, otherwise known as hypervigilance, kicking in for no good reason. Your ancestors needed to sense when something, or someone, was watching them. Predators, enemies, wild animals, carrion from the rival tribe. That alert system? Useful. Fast forward a few thousand years, and now your brain uses the same panic software when you're literally just standing near a coat rack that vaguely resembles a person. Even creepier, studies show that your brain can sense eye contact even when it's not in your direct field of vision. It's like your neurons are part spy, part witch. So when you suddenly feel watched, but there's nothing there, well, maybe it's your brain doing cardio. Or maybe it's a ghost. Who knows? Either way, you'll definitely check the hallway twice and sleep with one eye open. Because apparently, your highly advanced, evolved mind still hasn't figured out that laundry can't stare. Number 4. The fear of falling asleep. Sleep is supposed to be restful, peaceful, essential for survival. So why does your brain sometimes treat it like a free fall into a black hole? Ever jerked awake just as you were drifting off, convinced you were falling off a cliff? That's a hypnic jerk, and it's your brain slamming the brakes because it thinks you're dying. Yes, really. See, your body relaxes, your breathing slows, your heart rate drops, and your ancient lizard brain goes, "Welp, that's it. We've died." Initiate emergency flailing. So you spasm like you've just been tossed mid-dream and wake up wondering what just happened. Some scientists think this glitchy reaction is a holdover from when our ancestors slept in trees and needed to not fall out and become leopard snacks. Others say it's just your nervous system misfiring like an old car battery. Either way, the result is the same: panic, confusion, and a sudden irrational fear of sleep. It's not just the jerks either. Some people fear the vulnerability of sleep itself, the idea of shutting down for hours with no awareness. Because to your hypervigilant brain, going offline sounds a lot like dying, or being attacked by something with claws, or, worse, having your phone stolen. Basically, your brain wants to sleep, but only on its own anxious, overthinking terms. Number 3. Random loud sounds and silence. You're lying in bed. It's midnight. Silent. Still. And then, clang. A pipe groans. The fridge pops. The walls crack. Suddenly, every horror movie you've ever seen rushes to the front of your mind like they just got called into battle. Welcome to hyperarousal, your brain's way of saying, we might be under attack, probably by ghosts. It's a leftover from when silence was actually dangerous. If everything suddenly went quiet in the wild, it meant predators were nearby, waiting. So your brain still treats silence like the warm-up act for doom. And when a sound does happen, even a harmless one, your fight-or-flight system instantly flips the panic switch and starts drawing mental blueprints of escape routes. Spoiler, none of them involve staying in the room. And yes, you know the fridge does that. It does it every night. But your brain doesn't operate on logic. It operates on, "What was that?" and then spends the next 20 minutes replaying the sound, just in case it happens again. Honestly, your brain is like a squirrel with anxiety and a megaphone. Great at staying alive in the wild. Terrible at letting you sleep during a thunderstorm. Number 2. Elevators of existential dread. You're standing in an elevator. It's quiet. A little too quiet. The door's close, and suddenly you're hyper-aware of everything. The lights, the hum of the motor, the fact that you are now inside a suspended metal box dangling by cables thinner than your confidence. Logically, elevators are safe. Statistically, you're more likely to get struck by lightning while eating cereal than fall to your doom in one. But your brain doesn't trust statistics. It trusts vibes. And the vibe is claustrophobic death trap. This is a classic mix of claustrophobia, acrophobia, and a dash of control anxiety. Your brain hates being stuck in a small space, hates being off the ground, and really hates not being in charge of its own motion. So it throws a little panic party every time you hear a mechanical clunk. Oh, and if the elevator jerks even slightly, that's your cue to write your imaginary will and whisper goodbye to your imaginary children. Because your brain has now entered worst-case scenario simulator mode, and it's not leaving until you reach the lobby or the afterlife. Let's be real, your brain knows you're just going to the second floor, but it also watched Final Destination that one time and hasn't forgotten. Ever. Number 1. The darkness isn't empty. Let's finish with the classic fear of darkness, the granddaddy of all irrational fears. Or maybe it's not so irrational. When the lights go out, your eyes stop giving your brain helpful data, and your brain, bless its melodramatic heart, fills that void with whatever it thinks will scare you the most. Monster? Sure. Serial killer? Yep. Demon you saw once in a blurry YouTube video at 2 a.m.? Absolutely. This is what scientists call threat detection bias. Your brain would rather imagine something terrible and be wrong than imagine nothing and get eaten. It's like a survival insurance policy. That shadow could be a curtain, could be a creature. Why risk it? Even though modern life has no saber-toothed tigers or cave ghouls, your brain doesn't update its software. It still thinks you're in a vulnerable, meat-based body in a world full of predators. So it screams into the void, just in case. And ironically, the more you try to rationalize it, the worse it gets. Because now your brain's got company, your imagination. Together, they'll create a full-on psychological horror movie starring you in your hallway at 1 a.m. wearing socks in fear. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.